subtropical disturbance near Taiwan on today's Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for July 28th. So we have been concerned about a second system forming in behind Typhoon Gamey. It is still heading towards Taiwan as a tropical disturbance right now, although it doesn't look like it will strengthen any further, which is good news. There's lots of other areas of interest around the world right now, but no active tropical cyclones. Let's take a look at all of them. In the Atlantic, it's day 58 of hurricane season. We've got two 30% areas that we've designated, although notably NHC are at 40% for the southern system, and we were for a little bit, but model support has dropped some today, but a disturbance will be moving through the Lesser and Greater Antilles. Day 75 of the Eastern Pacific hurricane season, and there's a 60% area of interest now that could become a full-fledged hurricane off the coast of Mexico later in this coming week, and two 30% areas of interest on either side of it as well, 30% out at sea there. In the Western Pacific, we've got those two areas of interest. It is down to 20% now for Invest 97W. There's a bit of a mix-up with the designations there, but it's 97W now heading towards Taiwan, and that other area of interest off to the right-hand side there, 10%. North Indian Ocean, not much going on here right now, but quite a lot of cloud in the area, mainly over the ocean region, but over land as well. Parts of Western India getting a few monsoonal showers at this time by the looks of things, and a few showers as well over Thailand. Southwest Indian Ocean looks like this, pretty quiet, but cloud feeding in from the northern hemisphere through the equator there, over parts of the Seychelles and over some other areas of the tropical ocean there as well. So let's take a closer look in Invest 97W then. It is still quite far east actually. It's 578 kilometers east-northeast of Santa Ana, Philippines, 596 from Basco, 646 from Ishigaki, Japan, 874 from Taipei, and 1436 from Shanghai, China. It is expected to continue northwesterly and pass close to Taipei, and by that point it is expected to be weakening and may barely even bring 25 to 30 mile per hour winds by the time it gets there. Let's take a look at satellite imagery of all the systems active right now. Then here it is, that Invest 97W, and a big area of cloud off to the left hand side as well, associated with the remnants of Gamey actually. That will be providing huge amounts of wind shear, I should imagine, as that system gets closer, but certainly there's a little band there, not too much convection inside that Invest, but there will be a fair amount of rain for the southern Japanese islands soon. Here's a look at the Eastern Pacific. You can see there's two areas of interest that are currently active. The one on the left there, that's that 30% chance, and the one on the right here, 60%, but still looking like there's got a way to go for that one. Here's another look at Invest 97W, the one heading towards Taiwan. Difficult to get a center on it right now. I think it's a little bit further north than what this floater imagery is showing. So towards the top end of that image, I reckon, is where the center is. And this is the infrared imagery showing at the upper levels, rotation slowly increasing, not very quick at it though, but a fair amount of convection. Could be looking a lot better really, but it is probably near its peak right now actually. Here's another Invest that's been designated 98W, which is close to the Micronesian islands. I think that's Cosray on there, that right hand side there, or Chuuk actually, moving towards the west or maybe west-northwest at this time, but very little going on with it, just a tiny amount of convection on its northern side. And here's the other area of interest, 99W, just north of Pohnpei in Micronesia as well. Some convection on the northeastern side, but again very much struggling in terms of any kind of rotation right now, but keep watching. Big frontal system moving up off the east coast of the United States, which is going to be producing a small low pressure system, which is that 30%. It should remain cold core though. This is the Caribbean, where there's quite a bit of convection blowing up off the coast of Nicaragua and Honduras, but in general it's pretty quiet. Still quite a bit of dust there, but lots of tiny small clouds at the low levels as well, cumulus clouds. And this is the west coast of Africa, a big system moving off there now, a tropical wave, although it will probably decompose quite a bit as it moves offshore. And this is the eastern Pacific once again, showing those areas of interest, mainly the one off El Salvador right now. That's that 60% system. The other 30% behind it hasn't reached the scene yet, and there's that other system in the middle of the eastern Pacific now, that 30% chance, looking quite good actually, getting a little bit of rotation going and a little bit of convection as well. Here's that Westpac system, 97W once again, and it is stretched quite a lot when you look at this infrared north to south, probably to do with Gamey's remnants stringing it along like that. And this is the North Indian Ocean, quite a lot of monsoonal activity along the coastline of India, but in general not too much of it is overland right now, although quite a bit in western India there near Mumbai, moving out towards the Arabian Sea. Well, sea surface temperatures look like this, still getting warmer there in the eastern Pacific. There's a big bank there of 31 degrees Celsius waters now off the coast of Mexico, and a secondary area further north as well. So looking good in the eastern Pacific. The Atlantic is still extremely warm as well off Florida and off Cuba, and on the east side of Florida as well through the Gulf Stream. The Atlantic in general is still piping hot here as we enter the more warmer time of the season. And the western Pacific, very warm waters extending very far north as well. The Ogasawara Islands getting 31 degrees Celsius up towards the mainland of Japan, up and above 26 degrees now in quite a few spots near the Philippines as well, looking good. North Indian Ocean, a few spots that are still pushing 29 degrees Celsius, but increased cloud cover has led to these temperatures decreasing again a little bit. Compared to average, it's the North Atlantic that's extremely warm there in almost all of the basin. The main development region up to 3 degrees above average. The subtropical and extratropical zones up to 4 or 5 degrees above. Eastern Pacific, the areas that matter, the tropics there looking good as well. The usual breeding ground, 2 to 3 degrees above average. Western Pacific, 1 or 2 cool spots after the recent events, but in general the basin is still warm and the area near Japan is absolutely screeching. And these are the oceanic heat content values then in the region. As you can see, this is actually a few days old now, but I imagine not much has changed. Still very high amounts of energy in the Philippine Sea and decent amounts in the northern part of the Westpac. Eastern Pacific as well, a few little spots here and there. The Atlantic still looking extremely good as well across the Caribbean Sea, from the Lesser Antilles through Jamaica in particular, Cayman Islands and past Cuba into the Gulf of Mexico. Gulf Stream also providing some energy there too. So let's see what the computer models have in store. Well, the GFS isn't keen on either of those Atlantic systems to appear on this, so we won't be looking at them. But this is what it's got for the Eastern Pacific then. You can see these 3 signatures that are trying to develop. The middle one, that's the 60% area that's looking the best there in that 5-day period, getting towards hurricane strength, certainly getting high-end tropical storm status there as it moves on west-northwestwards. Doesn't really affect Mexico, it's moving out to sea. Western Pacific, watching these 2 areas of interest here. The one on the right there over the open waters, developing into a tropical storm by the looks of things there as it gets towards the higher latitudes, and of course the one that was affecting Taiwan disappears quite quickly. Watch it again there. You can see it takes a dive towards the west, possibly affecting southern Taiwan, moving northwestwards. The winds never get to storm force. And then with those eastern systems, there's another thing that pops up behind it. They're trying to become a tropical storm as well, but that seems a little bit dubious. Rainfall expectations for the next 7 days are still somewhat significant for a few areas. Of course, it is calming down now, but still the influence from what's left of Gamey, providing lots of rainfall for southern China and some more rain for parts of the northern Philippine Islands in the next 7 days as well. Looking at locally high amounts of 250 millimeters in southern China and across the mountains of Luzon and out over the open waters, maybe a little bit higher than that as well. Taiwan's rainfall haul in the next 7 days expected to reach 3 inches, which is 75 millimeters. In the medium range, day 5 to 10, that 60% area becomes a strong hurricane, a fairly strong category 2 maybe there. Then that second system behind it becoming even stronger than that, getting a category 4 status there, looking very powerful. And the one on the left there as well, 30% chance. It's trying. Does it actually get to storm status? Possibly not, but it is taking on the Central Pacific there as it continues westwards. So will we finally get an Eastern Pacific hurricane? That's still a big question that's up in the air. And in the Western Pacific, in that medium range as well, it's getting quite sloppy really. Those systems are really trawling around there, and then one getting into a very high latitude, probably not tropical by that point, and then a storm forming out of almost nothing there in the South China Sea near day 10, becoming a typhoon as it swipes the southern tip of Taiwan. So could it be another impact for Taiwan now? Something to watch out for there in the later part of that 10-day period. Still quite a far way out, and we haven't marked it. Scan the barcode and that will take you through to the Force 13 merch store, where you can take a look at all of our products as well as our full season and individual storm animations on request. And our Still Waiting for Hone t-shirt is still waiting for you right now as well, and we are waiting very much for it. In the Scilly range, day 10 to 16, the continuation of that very powerful hurricane continuing west-northwestwards certainly will be an ace machine there, which is what the Eastern Pacific is desperately in need of. And then it starts to turn slowly towards the northwest and starts to recurve or turn poleward. Don't really get recurves that far out in the East Pac usually, but both of those systems weakening substantially later on in that period as we enter the second week of August. Really struggling is this East Pac basin. And in the Western Pacific, the continuation of that typhoon, it sideswiped southern Taiwan, near Okinawa as well, and then turning eastwards. Then it stalls, and then it turns back again, like a boomerang, moving westwards, powerful, strengthening there, category 3 at least, and then taking aim for eastern China, just south of Shanghai. Well, it is a long way off. We haven't even marked that system yet, so something that just to be mindful of as we get to that longer range. Well, back on this day, there was a parade of strong typhoons on July 28, 1982. Typhoon Andy was making landfall in Taiwan. You may have seen that on some of our features in the Taiwan landfalls segment, but that one was a category 4 landfall, tiny core in it, but pictured Super Typhoon Bess, which reached category 5 on this day as well. Very powerful typhoon. And we also had Hurricane Gilmer, which was going through the ranks in the Eastern Pacific as well. Category 1 was about to rapidly intensify and to become another major hurricane there as well. We're already up to G there in 1982. This year it's still only B. But the next name in the Eastern Pacific is Carlotta, and Gilmer's on the naming list this year as well. In the Atlantic, the next name is Debbie, and in the Central Pacific, no surprise there, it is still Hone. In the West Pac, it is still the fear of Maria that's on its way on list 5. In the North Indian Ocean, the next name is Asna. 27 storms so far in 2024, which is still well behind the normal. Even in the Western Pacific, we've had 4 systems now. Normally we would be at, I think, 6 or 7. Australian region, the next name is Robin. Southwest Indian Ocean is Ansha, and in the South Pacific, the next name is Pitta. That's it from today's Tropical Weather Bulletin. We'll be back again tomorrow.
Become an Ultimate Fan today.